Today I'm going to show you how and why we installed a snorkel on our Sprinter 4x4 camper van. What's up everybody, welcome to Freely Roaming. My name is Dan. My family of 5 and I have been traveling full-time around the world in our home on wheels since 2008. We've driven across more than 30 countries on 4 continents while sharing our travel adventures as Molly Mish. You can find our vlogs at youtube.com/mollymish. We created this channel to share with you everything we've learned since the beginning about this nomadic overland traveling lifestyle. Subscribe for new uploads every week. In today's video, I want to show you guys how we installed this snorkel on our Mercedes Sprinter camper van. And also I want to talk a little bit about why we need one. The reality is not everybody needs a snorkel. Some of the misconceptions of a snorkel is that they're for fording water, crossing rivers. When you're going to drive a vehicle into deep water and you don't want your air intake to suck water into the engine. While that is one aspect of having a snorkel, and the name snorkel also leads you to believe that is the primary aspect, one of the most common reasons why people get snorkels, it's actually to be able to keep dust and debris outside of your airbox. Of course, you have an air filter inside your engine, so whatever dust and debris that gets in through the air ducting isn't likely going to make it into your combustion chamber of your engine. But what happens when you drive a lot of dirt roads and you go down a lot of unpaved areas or just remote places where there's a lot of dust, you end up clogging up the air filter much faster than you would if you were just driving pavement all the time. So the primary reason why we got a snorkel is to be able to protect our engine and not have our air filter for the engine clog up as quickly, meaning that we're going to get better gas mileage, we're going to get potentially more power, and we're going to have less maintenance problems as we travel around the world. So this snorkel we got is a Bravo snorkel. It's a pretty common, popular brand here in Europe. And I believe Bravo white labels these snorkels and lets other people rebrand them around the world. While you may not be able to find a Bravo snorkel in North America, you'll be able to find other brands like Terrawagon and other very similar snorkels that are made exactly like this and installs just like this. The installation is really easy. There are a few scary things that you have to do, the biggest one of which is you have to drill a giant 4-inch hole on the side of your van. So if you're uncomfortable doing something like that into your own van, you may want to take your van to a installer and have them do the work. Besides having a giant hole saw to be able to cut that 4-inch hole, pretty much everything else is just the standard tools that you have probably in your toolbox already. You need some screwdrivers, you need an Allen wrench, you need some silicone to seal up the holes that you've drilled into the side of your van, and also you'll need some touch-up paint or primer, automotive primer, to prime any raw metal that may be exposed after the drilling. So to walk you guys through the install process really quickly, it's actually a very straightforward thing. First thing you have to do is this snorkel kit comes with a template. It's basically just a piece of cardboard that's cut out to the exact shape of the corner of your fender, of your driver's side fender that the snorkel is going to be installed on. First thing you have to do is prep the surface. Clean the surface of the metal really well, protect it with some masking tape, and once you protect it with the masking tape, lay your cardboard template over the area. Line it up just right. You're going to want to line up the top of the template to the top of the fender, right where the seam is, and then lay some masking tape to secure it in place. And then the back of the template, you want to line it up to the rear of the quarter panel in your front fender as well. So that way you know exactly where the hole is going to be. Once you've got it all secured in place, take out your drill bit, figure out exactly where the center needs to be, and drill away. This is the scary part. This is where you're past the point of no return once you start drilling. You want to be a little bit careful. Slow and steady is the way, because as you're drilling, you don't want to press too hard on the side of your fender, because these Mercedes have relatively thin sheet metal. And if you press too hard onto the side, you may dent the area surrounding the fender, and you don't want that. And also, as the teeth of the hole saw starts to bite in, it can kind of jam up if you have any sharp edges that the teeth of the hole saw kind of catches on. So Steady pressure, slow pressure, and just let the hole saw do the work. Once you get past the outer skin of your fender, you're going to see the inside, and there's actually going to be another piece of sheet metal on the inside, which is the inner layer. So you're going to let the hole saw cut through that second layer as well. And once you've cut all the way through, make sure you have your hood open so you can see it as it comes inside. In our van, on the inside of the inner fender, there is the hoses for the windshield wiper fluid. We carefully push those out of the way, or have somebody on the inside kind of move it away from the surface. So as the hole saw comes through and cuts all the way through, it doesn't damage that hose at all. And once you got that hole cut out, there's 2 more holes that you want to cut. That's actually going to be where the snorkel is going to be mounted on the lower side, using a couple of rib nuts that's provided by the snorkel kit. With those 3 holes drilled, you want to prep the edges of the raw metal so that you don't have any rusting problems in the future. So what we did is we took some automotive primer, we just sprayed the can onto a surface, let it pool up, and then we use a small little brush to dab it onto the raw metal so that it's well protected. We did a couple of layers. We did probably 2 layers, maybe 3 layers in some places where we felt like it needed more protection. All the way around, wherever we saw raw metal, that's what we did. And also at this point, you're going to want to kind of brush off any metal shavings that are gathered around the area. For the most part, as you're driving or as the wind blows, all the metal shavings is going to blow away. But what you don't want is you don't want the metal shavings to kind of pile up anywhere, because those shavings are going to rust. And once you get rust onto metal shavings, it could affect the metal that it's sitting on. So once we got the primer applied onto the raw surfaces, we had a small bottle of touch-up paint that's paint matched to our Sprinter. You don't actually need to do this because all the edges that you're painting are going to be covered up by the actual snorkel itself, but since we had the paint, we just touched it up anyways. So once we got the 2 bottom 3 holes drilled, we test fitted the snorkel. We make sure the snorkel goes all the way in without any obstructions. We make sure once it's in place that the snorkel clears the side mirrors and the doors from opening and closing. There's a little notch that's built into the snorkel itself that's designed so that when the door opens, the side mirror doesn't touch the snorkel, because the snorkel does stick out the side a few inches. So with all that done, it was time to install the rib nuts. The rib nuts that came with the kit had a smaller flange than ideal. I felt like that if you have alternate rib nuts that have bigger flanges, it would be better, which I did. I have a rib nut installer tool that came with a bunch of additional rib nuts of various sizes. The size you need is an M6. So I took 2 of my M6 rib nuts that I already had. I had larger flanges, and installed that into the 2 small holes that I had just drilled. And once I drilled those, I test fitted the snorkel again to make sure that the hole goes in, the holes all line up correctly. And once you've got that in place, the next thing you want to do is to install the upper bracket. The upper bracket of the snorkel goes into the A-pillar from the outside. And there are 3 small holes that you have to drill into the A-pillar to be able to install the snorkel. And to kind of line this up correctly was probably the second trickiest part. It's not necessarily as scary as drilling a big 4-inch hole, but you are drilling 3 holes into the A-pillar. There are a couple ways to install this. You can install this by using rivets, pop rivets. If you have pop rivets, you can just drill the hole into your A-pillar and then you can rivet on this bracket. My kit came with sheet metal screws. So I drilled 3 holes that are the right size for the sheet metal screws. And the way that I did this is I first mounted the bracket to the side of the snorkel, and I mounted the bottom of the snorkel in using the 2 rib nuts that I installed. And also, once I got it in place, I can go up and see where the 3 holes need to be for the bracket. You can use some double-sided tape to secure that bracket temporarily in place, so you know exactly where to drill those holes. Alternatively, you can use masking tape to figure out what the bracket needs to be. Mark the area around it using masking tape so that when you came back, when you take the snorkel off and the bracket off, you can relocate that bracket exactly where it needs to be so you can drill those 3 holes. Now those 3 holes you're drilling for the upper bracket it's important for you to use some silicone to seal up that hole, because unlike the holes you're drilling down in the lower fender, that upper bracket goes inside the A-pillar, and it is possible that water could get into the A-pillar, and I don't know exactly where that drains to, so it would be best to not let any water in. So make sure you put a dab of silicone in every one of those holes before you put that bracket back in. So with those holes drilled, all you have to do is use the 3 screws or pop rivets, mount the upper bracket in, and now you can do your final install on the snorkel. One of the things that you might want to do is you want to take the ducting for the inside of the engine compartment. So what you want to do now at this stage is to take the ducting that comes with your snorkel kit and open up your engine compartment and figure out where exactly that needs to go. You have to take out the existing air intake hose that's connected to the air box, and there's a tab on the top and a tab on the bottom. You want to use a flathead screwdriver to kind of pop those tabs underneath and then pull it out, and that should pop right out without any screws or any other kind of fasteners. And once you've got those out, you take your 2 ducts that comes with your snorkel kit and assemble them together using, there's a metal tube that connects the 2 ducts, and then there are hose clamps. They're big hose clamps that are made to secure the ducting together. One side of the ducting is going to go directly to the airbox, one side is going to join the 2 together, and then the other end of that side is going to go into the air intake from the snorkel that comes in from the side of your fender. So that's basically it. Once you've got your snorkel installed on the side, all the fasteners secured down properly, you connected the 2 ducting on the inside so that connects the air that comes down from the snorkel that goes into your airbox, and just securely fasten the hose clamps. The only thing you have to do at this point is to take the new air intake that goes in the top of your snorkel. There's another hose clamp that is used to fasten and secure that down, so you can point the air intake in any direction you want, 360 degrees. What's great about this is if you're driving down a dirt road and you're following somebody, and if that person is kicking up a lot of dust, and even when it's this high up, the air intake still might be sucking in dirt from the person in front of you, you can spin that 180 degrees around so you can get much cleaner air that's coming in from behind without all that dust being sucked into your airbox. That is all it takes to install a snorkel onto your Sprinter. Other vehicles that need snorkels installs very similarly. However, the hole is going to be cut in a different location. Depending on the engine compartment, you may have different ducting that you have to route. In our particular Sprinter, what's something that's worth noting is that the ducting underneath the hood goes through an auxiliary battery location. If you have a factory auxiliary battery, or if you're using that space for something like an air compressor, you may not be able to run the ducting through the way that it's supposed to. So talk to the person who you're buying the snorkel from exactly what you've got under the hood and whether or not the kit that you're buying is going to fit. Ours installed in about an hour, hour and a half. We didn't have any problems. We haven't driven the car yet, but I did start the car. There's no engine errors, there's no issues, and the way that the ducting is set up underneath, it clears the windshield wiper mechanism. There's a mechanical bracket that goes back and forth right underneath where the ducting kind of comes into the engine compartment, and you can see that when you run your windshield wiper. So once you got it all installed, make sure your door clears, turn on your windshield wiper to make sure everything clears in that section of the engine, and you should be fine. So that's all there is to it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions about installing your own snorkel onto your own Sprinter van, let me know in the comments below. Thanks to all of our Patreon supporters. Thanks to all of you for watching. If you found this video helpful, I would love it if you subscribed. Hope you guys are having a nice day, and I'll see you guys in the next video.